tell afterward. Wonderful. Welcome, everyone. I'm Thaisa Matos. I'm Gaia Education Face-to-Face Programs Coordinator, and I'm really grateful to be here with all of you today for this session, PDC, Permaculture in Community, with Lusi Alderslowe. Lusi will be the main trainer of the PDC in Findhorn, taking place in August and September. And we will be able to share more about it with all of you very soon. Just so we know, I'll hand it over to Lusi. She will have time to present, and towards the end, we will share more about the PDC in Findhorn and other details about Gaia education courses. But for now, it's just a warm welcome to Lusi, and maybe you can introduce yourself better than I do. So welcome, Lusi. Thank you so much for this time here with us.
Yeah, thank you. It's so exciting to be here. It's great to see all these people here. 52. Wow. Thank you. Yeah, I'm a permaculture educator. I live in southwest Scotland. So I don't live in Findhorn, but we have taught the permaculture design course in Findhorn 5 times there. So I've this will be number 6 coming up. So I'm excited about the course. It's really exciting. And there are some people here, I think, from Findhorn as well, from the Findhorn Eco Village and the surrounding communities. Do you want to wave? That's you? Yeah, you're in.
I'm in.
Oh, it says your name's Magdalene. That's confusing.
I know, I'm just renaming myself, Lucy. Sorry about that. Sorry for being late. I couldn't get in, but I'm here now.
Great to see you again, Katie. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Katie Sharrock. I live in the Park Eco Village in Findhorn, and I did a couple of permaculture design courses with Lucy. One actually doing the training, and the second one assisting her as part of living here in the park. And it was a great opportunity to see the park from that permaculture perspective, which of course is a huge part of what Findhorn is about. And yeah, sort of walking the talk, if you like, trying to we endeavor to. Yeah. So I don't know what else to say.
That's great.
Thank you,
Katie. Yeah.
Maybe I can also tell you all that we have Rafael from the Gaia Education team here supporting. So Rafa, maybe you can, wave your hand. And if you have any questions, Rafael and I will be answering the chat. Back to you, Lucy.
And I see that Del has arrived as well from a boat in the west.
Wonderful.
Well done, Del. Do you want to introduce yourself?
We can't hear you. You're muted. Part of our team.
Okay. Okay. Now can you hear me? Okay. I'll show you where I am. We're anchored off Tiree in the Inner Hebrides on the west coast of Scotland. And it's quite cold, as you can see. This is Bonnie, Scotland in the summer. But yeah, happy to be here and meet everyone.
Thank you.
And sorry, who am I? I'm Del. I live in the park, in the Field of Dreams, helping with the permaculture course. And I did the course a few years ago and helped Lucy last year with the last year's permaculture course. So looking forward to this one. Yeah, that's me.
Thank you. And I can see some people are saying hello on the chat and saying where they are calling from. So that's an invitation for all of you Please let us know, where are you calling from? It's so beautiful to talk to a global audience. Lucy.
Wonderful. Yeah, so I'm seeing Canada there. That's exciting. So yeah, interested to see where everyone's coming from. It pops up on the chat. Oh, Tanzania, Karibuni.
Woo!
USA, excellent. Uruguay. Wow, so exciting. So I would like to introduce today what we'll be talking about is about permaculture in community. So I have some pictures because pictures are much more interesting to look at than my face. So I'm going to share with you some different pictures so you can see, exemplify what I'm talking about. So yeah, this is me, Lusi Alderslowe. I'm a permaculture educator, senior tutor of the diploma in applied permaculture design, co-author of this book about children in permaculture, really focused on education, outdoor learning, mental health in the outdoors. Yeah, all things outdoors, my focus. Including outdoor maths, outdoor literacy with young children, and with adults, mental health, nature connection. Of course, I have my own beautiful little garden, which has given me so many raspberries that it's a small garden, but there's an entire freezer drawer full of raspberries now. So, my most latest proudest garden moment. So please share your latest proudest garden moments in the chat as well. Yeah, so we're going to be talking I don't know if everybody knows a definition of permaculture, so I'll briefly introduce one definition of permaculture, a little quick look at the permaculture ethics and principles and the permaculture flower. And then I've got some nice pictures that show you how permaculture can be done in community and how that relates to the permaculture ethics in particular, because the foundation of permaculture is these ethics. So one definition of permaculture, there are many definitions of permaculture, but I won't go into all of them. This is just an introduction. Permaculture is a harmonious integration of the landscape and people, providing their food, energy, shelter, and other material and non-material needs in a sustainable way. So we're thinking about, people often think permaculture is about gardening, and gardening is important because food is important. Water is important. We need to drink. Our homes are important because we need shelter. And we have material needs, so those physical subsistence needs, as they're called in Max Neef's view, subsistence needs, but also those non-material needs like well-being and safety, security, understanding. So how do we meet all of the human needs at once? So permaculture is, I think of it, basically it's a design system based on the ethics and principles. And these ethics and principles can be applied to lots of different spheres of life. So these are the ethics, earth care, people care, and fair share. And where we're trying to get to with any activity or something that we're doing, we really want that thing is here in the middle. These are overlapping circles. So if we're trying to plot things that we are doing, that we're spending a lot of time and energy doing, then that should be an example of earth care, people care, and fair shares. Some of you might have seen fair shares called different names, but we'll just go with fair shares for today, so we don't have a huge amount of time to dive into those. So we'll be looking at these in relation to the different pictures I'll be showing you from permaculture in community. And again, we don't have so much time, but these are the permaculture principles as they were written and drawn out by David Holmgren. There's two co-founders of permaculture, Bill Mollison and David Holmgren. So these are the ones from David Holmgren as he drew them out earlier this century, whereas permaculture originally came from the late 1970s as a concept and a word and some principles. So you can see how these are the ethics in the center, and around these ethics we have these principles, like, for example, produce no waste or use and value diversity. So we try and integrate these into the different designs and our different work and our way of implementing permaculture in action. And this is the flower that I've mentioned. So what we're going to do now is just go through each of these petals and talk about how, in what way you can see the permaculture ethics and the principles. I don't know if that's too small on your screen, depending on your device, but the ethics are there in the center. The principles are here around, and then each of these petals is what we're going to look at in a bit more detail now. Okay, so this is land and nature stewardship is one of the petals, one of the areas or spheres of life where you can apply permaculture. So land, we're thinking about earth care. In the top right, we have Evelyn harvesting compost. These are the hot compost bins in Fenton Eco Village that Evelyn set up as a community composting site. Evelyn read about climate change and wanted to know what was the one thing I could do. What could I really do to be effective in my community to help reduce our impact on the climate? And from her reading, she found that composting was the simplest and easiest thing that she could do, but wanted to do it not just for herself, but for everyone in the community. So this is in a community space. It's right near the main drag, the main pathway in the park, Eco Village. And she welcomes people to put their biodegradable waste into these hot bins. She'll have a little sign on top, actually. She says stones on top when she doesn't want anybody to be adding to that one, and then has it open so people can add to the top when they want to. So when you're composting, you're adding biodegradable waste, a nice mix, ideally of green or nitrogen-rich materials and browns are carbon-rich materials. And in the end, you get this beautiful, wonderful, microbial-rich gold dust for you to put on your garden. So that's a beautiful example of these permaculture ethics I told you about, earth care. So you're literally caring for the earth, caring for the microbes, the bacteria, and especially in the hot bins, and also the fungal associations, if you then put that in another system. So microbial activity in the earth. So that's a really lovely example of earth care. Also, if you then use that to grow food, then that food is not being imported from somewhere else. So the food becomes people care. You don't have to take it from far. It doesn't cost any money. It doesn't come in plastic packaging. So you're actually doing a lovely example of earth care, people care, and fair share. So you're only taking a fair share of resources. You're reducing your impact on the earth and on other people. So that's how composting is an example of all three of the permaculture ethics. This is the top right, the hot bin, and down in the bottom right, we have people, this is when the permaculture course were in Colour and Gardens, which is the market garden where they grow lots and lots of food for the community and for the local community, surrounding community. And yeah, again, you can see on the course, everyone's getting stuck in there with forks and appropriate technology, building a big compost heap. Even mixes of greens and browns to make some really great compost. On the left, we have a picture of, this is Craig Gibson, who might be joining us later, and three of the permaculture students, and they're in Craig's garden, where we're mulching, as you can see, with cardboard. First, there was lots of plants growing there that weren't ones that we wanted particularly. Cut them down, put cardboard on top, and then planted little seedlings in there as well. So that's growing food as an example of earth care, people care, and fair share. I wonder if Dell or Katie want to say anything about any of those projects. Okay. Oh, Dell?
Just to say that visiting Craig's garden, you mentioned Craig, visiting his garden, which is a pure permaculture garden, is a real experience in itself, because of the way he manages it. And it looks, at the outset, it looks quite wild, but actually there's so much method and natural order, not precision order, but natural order in it. It's a lovely thing to experience.
And it's a really good contrast to Evelyn's garden as well, because Craig's, it looks quite wild, and Evelyn's is very ordered. So it's nice to see the different ways that you can do permaculture. You know, it doesn't have to be a wild thing with carpet and cardboard everywhere, but you can also have it in nice orderly beds and looking just amazing, which Evelyn's garden does. Look.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's really important because you're designing for the people and the place, as well as for biodiversity and for food growing productivity. So great point. Thank you. Buildings and the park eco village in Findhorn is just amazing. All the different types and styles of buildings. This one is literally is a barrel that they used to make whiskey in. So it's an old whiskey barrel. And this is Craig's from above as well. As you can see, this is the old whiskey barrel, and then sort of 3 conjoined kind of whiskey barrel styles. And that's literally been made. This house was made by Craig, and this by the person who owns this house. So they got these really, and it cost very, very little money to build it themselves, because they just found, well, the whiskey barrel, that costs almost nothing. It was a waste product. The windows, you can design a house around around glazing, doors, glass that you can find. You can make it yourself, exactly bespoke. So that's one style of doing a really eco building. And on the right, we have another style of doing a really eco building, and they both exist, and you can have a look at both of them. This is sort of co-housing. This is your place, isn't it, Katie?
It's actually a new build. Both of those on the right are new builds. The top one, it looks like North Winds, which is about to be opened for the new owners. So it's a little bit further along than it was when the photograph was taken. And below is just back from me, Woodside. And their garden, that must have been taken soon after they moved in, because their garden now is just huge, and they've got so many things growing in it. It looks fantastic. And that's all low cost housing as well, So be good to have a look at it when you're here and see how it's all grown.
I can just add that Findhorn, the Eco Village, pioneered quite a lot of green building technology, and wrote, I think, the UK's first book on eco building. So and the learning is still going on, like Katie says, with the build that's happening in that top right picture. And each time they're perfecting new technologies.
Which means there's a few houses here that have been guinea pigs, and sometimes things haven't worked quite well. So but it's a real fermenting ground of new technology here. So we were the first to do things all the way through. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I can vouch for that. My house isn't very soundproof. It was one of the early ones, And I can hear a lot of things that I don't need to hear from upstairs.
And this is Jason Caddy, who designed this, I think, is the architect and overseeing everything there. Who gave us this tour. Maria is here. Maria is one of the co-teachers, currently out of Wi-Fi in Sweden, but so unable to join us on this call.
And actually, I'm on board with Jason's father here in off Tyree.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm waving at Jonathan as we speak. Small world.
So I guess coming back to shelter, to buildings, to earth care, you know, when you're using either low impact materials, you're making houses, these are like they don't really need much heating at all, do they? A passive house, standard housing, then you don't, that is an example of earth care because you're using far fewer resources. Then it's people care because you're in a warm house that doesn't have dampness, which is a big problem in Scotland, that most houses have a lot of dampness, like black mold on the walls. And it's fair share as well, because you're not using lots of resources to heat, or in other places cool, your house. Then you're actually taking a fair share of resources. And we talk about one planet living. Moving on to this next petal, tools and technology. This is the living machine. This is Mary Hollander giving us a guided tour of the living machine, which you can see is like a big greenhouse with lots of plants in it, perhaps you think, but it's a big greenhouse with lots of plants in it that are, each of the plants are in barrels, and in the barrel is like the barrels are piped up, and it's a sewage treatment plant. So all the water that is flushed down toilets and goes down sinks, all that wastewater comes into the living machine and goes through this system where the plants make a habitat for the microbes to be living, and out the other end, the water is clean. So it's taking dirty water and cleaning it in a short, small, intensive system. But we're talking about permaculture and community. This model could be taken to any village in Scotland and could be a way of treating sewage that does not require chemicals. It's a wonderful system that doesn't, as I say, it doesn't require chemicals. So it's a lovely example of earth care. And it's people care because we can use toilets, so that's great. And also the water's coming out clean, and fair share in terms of not using chemicals, so having that fair share of resources. Up here, I don't know if this is when I was with you, Katie. This was actually when we visited Black Isle Permaculture and Arts, which we do for a day trip with Clive Brandon and Julie Plumridge. And this is actually putting a lid onto the bottle, because they've been making wine, and we were putting the corks onto the bottles. And this is a different system for dealing with human waste. So we can sit on the toilet, and then it has a toilet separator. The pee goes to the front, and the solids, the poo, feces, goes to the back, and that you leave that deposit, put some sawdust on the top, and then you can make a lovely compost. And that compost, again, can be put around fruit trees to help fruit and nut trees to grow. And then that's people care as well. So you're getting earth care, looking after the soil, people care because you're producing food, which is organic food, full of nutrients for you to eat, and fair share as well, because you're reducing environmental impact from importing food from other parts of the world. Do you want to add anything, Katie?
Well, I was just noting that the woodside block of houses that were on the previous slide. Now, the water that comes out of a living machine it is clean, and there's some fish in the tank right at the end of the greenhouse, but they pump the water up and they were letting it out into the dunes, but now they've actually using some of that water as brown water in the brown water system for woodside housing, so the water is being reused again in their heating, in some parts. So there's so many new technologies going on that here, and often the research is done in collaboration with universities. So it's really cutting edge technology that's happening here that we can observe being put into practice.
Brilliant. Thank you, Katie. Education and culture. A lot of what Findhorn Eco Village does is around education. It's my main sphere as well. I've mentioned before. I love to include as diverse types and styles of learning as possible. You may have heard about head, hand, and heart learning, which we really include on the course. When we wrote this book about doing permaculture with children, we really noticed that because children are observing so much. I don't know if you've ever watched a baby, but even before they're born, they're observing, and then just taking all that information in. So we've added to head, heart, and hand, eyes, which is observation with all the senses. I really like to think of learning as all of those things. It's through stories, through songs, through pictures, through diagrams, 3D models. You can see I like to use toys, because it really helps people to understand in a really different way. So that's a picture of me with one of my favorite activities. Playing with cards and toys, and explaining how zones and sectors, which are permaculture terms, which are much easier to understand in that 3D modeling. Here we have some of the students from one of the courses explaining what they've been discussing. Actually, they're talking about spirals of erosion and abundance, and how you can transform something negative into something positive. That's what they're talking about there. Throughout the permaculture design courses, and whenever I'm teaching anything, I try to include people as much as I can. In discussion and in games and in fun ways, and learning through observing. This is us at Black Isle, where obviously people are learning partly through what's being said, but you can see someone's got distracted by something or other that they're, got really excited about, and that's all really good learning, it's embracing that. And we have different guest tutors, so we have Clive and Julie here, and we have Kaido. This is Kaido here, with a group of students, and Kaido's really into the woodland management and regeneration. So learning about that side of permaculture as well, the woodland, not just the gardening, although there's lots of gardening. I'm leaving a pause in case anyone else wanted to pop in. And health and spiritual well-being. We have here, most mornings we start with a circle with an attunement. And actually the whole culture of the course, we talk about the course culture right at the beginning, to be respectful, to be inclusive, and to speak from the heart, and speak from the eye. And these things to really nurture that sort of health and spiritual well-being. So an attunement might be a beautiful meditation, as Katie has led many times. We also sit around in the Earth Lodge and have a fire, sings, tells stories. Might sit around a fire another night. This time we made little clay models of where we're at. It was really beautiful, like hand and heart connecting activity that we, as like afternoon, evening, that we spent. And also here you can see some of the students there are chopping cabbages. we're making sauerkraut and fermenting foods. So this whole workshop here with Evelyn is fermenting foods and learning about, and she talks about the compost. So it's all about working with microbes. There are more microbial cells in our bodies than there are human cells. So we really need to feed and care and tend for the microbes in our own bodies. And since I learned from Evelyn about fermenting food, I've been doing, I'm always fermenting now. I've got a cabbage from the community garden in the kitchen here so that I can go and make some sauerkraut tonight. Yeah, it's really important to feed our microbes so that they can help us digest our food, so we get all the nutrients out of it, and yeah, our digestive system, working system, and working well, and how that affects your mental health as well as your physical health. Anything to add there, Katie or Del?
I just think that there are many permaculture design courses available, but to come and do it at Findhorn, well, Findhorn is a community that was founded with a spiritual impulse, and that somehow permeates everything that's been done here. And I think you get a different flavor of permaculture through listening to the different tutors that are based up here in Findhorn. There's a really deep living quality to working with that spiritual realm. However we find that, and there isn't like a dogma. It's like this or it's like that. It's very much a personal connection to that spiritual realm that's honored here. And I think that's a special part of doing the permaculture training in Findhorn, for me anyway.
Yeah, and what's also nice about the course is that you get involved with the activities in the community. So there's meditation every morning. There's a particular kind of singing, which is kind of almost a meditative singing that you can join. So you can actually, it's lovely to integrate into the community with some of the, as Katie says, the more spiritual, the loosely spiritual but no dogma attached activities. And those are the things that really set you up for the day. That's what I find. I go to the singing quite a bit, and that's like a meditation. And then, of course, there's an early morning swim on the beach is another good way. That's a meditation as well. So there are all these things that, add that extra dimension to you're not just doing a course. Yeah.
Brilliant points. Thank you. Yeah, there was one group who went swimming every single morning in the sea. Yeah, so finances and economics. So we learn about different ways of like living without money and sharing more. And this is a lovely thing that in Murray, where they have the local exchange trading scheme, which is a way of exchanging without needing to use money like pound sterling. And we learn about different things like that as well throughout the course. Land tenure and community governance. I think, is this your house, Katie? Yeah.
Yes, actually, I'm just in the terrace that we can't quite see, but yeah, that's our common ground area. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so land tenure. So this is the permaculture ethics and principles. So thinking about land tenure. So who owns land? In Scotland in Scotland is one of the worst places in the world for the inequality of land ownership. So we have people here who one individual can own huge areas of land. So like 90% of the land is owned by 10% of the people, something like that. And a huge proportion, like the Duke of Buccleuch owns the most of the south of Scotland. It's really bad. So here in permaculture, we can rethink about who owns the land and how do we organize that so it's fair. And Ariane is one of the residents or local community, who's Minister of the Scottish Parliament, yeah, and another working with other people on that sort of governance. So people here do get involved in wider politics as well as like how you organize your organizations. This is co-housing, so it's owned in common. So I thought it was a nice picture. And this is another lovely picture of actually me. I finally found the best way to teach sociocracy. So sociocracy is a way of organizing organizations where it's organized around circles, and people sit in a circle like this, and they also sit in another board. Anyway, I can explain it in depth and put on a hat, and yeah, it's a really fun way of learning and way through Lego people. Yeah, so looking at how do we organize organizations, how do we make decisions in a way that's quick enough but also includes all the voices, and empowers people rather than disempowering them. Yeah, Katie, do you want to say anything about the land tenures? We're a bit short of time to explain it in full.
No, it's fine. It's a complicated area, actually.
It is complicated, but we will go into it in more detail on the course, I guess. There's also shared ownership of land as well. So again, that's earth care, people care, and fair share. So yeah, with a focus there on that people care, but having that fair share between different people, and then having those communal resources which are managed more fairly than in private ownership, or the plantations of monoculture. So yeah, our next one was this is a picture of where we all went down to Findhorn River to swim and to engage in nature connection. So hopefully we have some time for questions now.
Thank you so much, Lucy. Coming back to the big circle, so we can open the mic for comments, questions. I've just put the link on the chat for the ones who want to know more about the upcoming PDC course that Lucy will be teaching with many community guests in August. And Catherine, we can start with you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Lucy, I was wondering, or anybody that's here, I was wondering, so I live in northern Minnesota, and I live in a place that gets really, 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 really cold and really challenging. And so there's a lot of things that I have found that are challenging in this area. And I'm wondering if you, or if anybody is familiar with some eco-villages that are really kind of looking at these environments. A lot of the things that I see out there are things that in our environment just wouldn't necessarily work in the same way. And I'm just wondering if there's any knowledge of eco-villages that are in these really intense temperature spaces where we can get up to minus 60 degrees Fahrenheit. So it can get really cold. And I'm just wondering, any wisdom in there? I would love to know a little bit about that if anybody has anything to offer. Excuse me.
You might want to try. Oh.
Go ahead, Adele.
Have a look at the Global Eco Village Network, GEN for short. Look at their website. There are about 10,000 eco villages listed on that website. It's an organization that was kind of birthed here at Findhorn. But yeah, they list about 10,000 eco villages, and there might be a village, eco village you could find there.
Yeah, I was going to ask the place again. I couldn't get. Where are you based?
Bemidji. I'll write it in the chat. It's Bemidji. It's an indigenous name. So Bemidji, Minnesota. So upper Minnesota.
We have, for sure, we have contacts in the US, and maybe someone from an American community could support you, I have some names to suggest.
Okay.
I will write on the chat.
Great.
And
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Oh,
other
thank you, Sarah.
hands, yeah.
There's someone's recommending one in Finland as well. It's great. Yeah. Lots to learn from across that. Yeah. Those microclimate climate zone. I think there was another question in the chat, which was how do I integrate, or how do I do permaculture in my garden? That was one that popped up on the chat. And I can't remember who it was, but you said you've got a small home garden. You can integrate permaculture through, I think if you learn about permaculture, then you can see the world through the permaculture lens, and that is seeing about your almost like you put on sunglasses and see it differently. So you see the functions that you want to get from your own home garden. So maybe you want to be able to eat. My goal for my garden was I want to be able to eat every day from my garden, something. So then I can design the garden from that perspective. So if you've got things that aren't edible and aren't performing other functions that could be replaced by something that you can eat, great, why not do that? So edible, something that's feeding the soil, something that's feeding biodiversity. Those are sort of some of the three things that you could think about when you want to change your garden. I can't see who it was that said that. Can you see who it was, Liza?
It was someone called Jess Clay.
Thank you.
There she is. She's waving.
Jess, does that answer your question, Jess?
So Alassani, how do I speak your name? You can just open your mic.
Okay, please, can I take the floor?
Yes, you're welcome.
Okay, thank you so much for your presentation. My name is Alassane Kousouve. I am from Burkina Faso, West Africa country. I am a PhD student in entomology. Entomology is a science that studies insects. My question is the following. I want to know what is the definition that we can give to the concept of permaculture, and what can be the advantages of permaculture practice in an area?
So the definition I shared earlier is that permaculture is the harmonious integration of landscape and people, providing their food, energy, shelter, and other material and non-material needs in a sustainable way. So it's about integrating nature, and it's about working with nature. So as an entomologist, I'm sure you'll be, wanting to look after insects. Insects have had bad press in agriculture, in gardens for the last 100 years or more. And what people have done is used chemicals to spray, to insecticides, to kill all the insects, and then they kill them all, and then all the predators are gone, the birds and spiders, etc., that eat those, and then the insects come back, but all the pests come back because there's food for them. All the other ones are not proliferating. And so you actually we've caused a problem by spraying with insecticides. So what you can do in a permaculture system is you would integrate, as I said, biodiversity with meeting human needs. So you're meeting human needs of growing food integrated with plants that are good for other biodiversity, such as your insects. So where you have a problem with an insect, then you introduce a predator for that, or you think about who are the predators for that. So maybe you need a bird nest box, or maybe you need a bat nest box. So there's places for these other parts of the natural ecosystem to become integrated. And so integrating systems, one of the principles is integrate rather than segregate, and use and value diversity means that you have a diverse system. So there's no one insect or pest that proliferates and causes problems. You have lots of different types of plants, means you have lots of different foods, you have lots of different insects and birds and spiders, etc.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm very happy. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And we will try to answer these last two questions because we want to bring a few more elements before wrapping up. So, Danielle?
Hello, everybody. And thank you for the presentation, possibility to follow the webinar. Yeah, it's my girlfriend and I got recently in a place with and we are very excited about all the possibilities and projects that could be done. And we were thinking about organizing at our place a permaculture design course. Of course, there is also a lot of fears about being at the very beginning. So we are not like a community that is already a long time, like Findor. And we would like to anyway host it and bring this to the people. Yeah, our question was like, what's your idea about hosting this permaculture design course in a place that has just started with like very few elements of permaculture?
Where are you?
We are in Offenburg, in south of Germany, in the Black Forest. Yeah.
You can definitely do a permaculture course in different locations, and I'm currently in the city in Glasgow, and I go to different places as part of this permaculture course. So that's one thing you can do is, okay, we can camp, maybe everybody can camp in your venue, and they can see some aspects of the course there, and then you can go to other places. Probably, in the south of Germany, there's lots of examples of different things. You might just need to travel to visit them. I mean, people do online courses, 100% online, and that suits some people really well in their lives, and that's great. I teach one actually about children in permaculture entirely on Zoom, and so that's possible. Then you just need to bring in other kinds of examples. So we bring in obviously photographs and explain concepts in different ways. And you can still do practicals if you have a place, then you can create, build a composting system, build a Hugo bed. So you can set up systems.
There are so many eco-villages in Germany, so I would say you can also go and visit some of them, because in my perspective, and I'm suspicious because I love eco-villages and I travel the world to visit and connect with them, but that's the faster and most beautiful way to learn, because the examples are all around, and not only in ecology, but in all the dimensions on social economy, and you can see the cultural change everywhere. So I highly recommend.
Thank you. Yeah, I also think that the example and real practice is the way to go. And thank you for also suggesting to, in case we do it, to bring other example and to travel to different places, so this thing could be possible and could and a lot of seeds could be planted in the people who attend the course. That's the goal of it, to spread this way of being. Thank you.
Thank you. So we go to Alan, and then we will wrap up with some informs and surprises.
Thank you. Am I coming through? Good. The 50 years ago, well, 1970, I began a commune. It was part of a commune in Berkeley, California, and we followed Findhorn very much. And we were small groups all up and down really the California coast. We were an urban commune, and Findhorn was an inspiration. Now, 50 years later or more, with the Nobel Prize in economics going to the governance of the commons, I've in Ann Arbor, Michigan, where I am now, undertaken the campaign that the center of the city should function as a common, self-managed by the users. That is a little different from our commune and from what I see in your photograph, because that's a situation where everybody who comes through has to somehow recognize the culture of governance and a mutual respect. But that is, so the commons, the city has no boundaries, but the commons in a way does have a boundary, and our commune in Findhorn has who's in it and who's not in it. But when anybody who kind of comes to town is sort of in it, how do you see dealing with that in Findhorn when people come as visitors or long-term? How do they participate in the governance and share in the culture of the place so that they recognize they get a benefit and they contribute responsibly and they respect everybody, which is the culture of the commons, but a little hard to bring forward when the power of government wants to control or the power of the corporation wants to exploit or profiteer. How do you deal with all that? Or what do you say to the larger community that does not have such a beautiful spot on the edge of a paradise that is more or less insulated? We're in the middle of the system of war and domination, and we want to have cooperation and peace. How's that?
I can say that it will be basically impossible to answer to all these big questions in a few minutes, but I don't know if you have any insights, Lucy. I think it will take time and energy for sure to get out of this polycrisis that we are living in. But it's an important conversation for sure.
In permaculture, I think everybody has an amount of power, and the amount of power that they have is how they can use that in a permaculture way. If everybody in the city is working in a permaculture way and seeing the world in a permaculture way, then we can find communities. You start with, like in sociocracy, you would start with neighborhood decision making. And, these distance, like 20-minute cities and things like that. So how do we make travel less required? How do we make our neighborhoods more sustainable? So all the neighborhoods, you start with the small, you transform your own garden. Your neighbors are like, oh, you get your food from your garden. You can keep chickens in a garden here. You can make small changes in the city. And then that can build up. You can make these neighborhoods, and then another neighborhood can change, and another one, and then the whole city can change step by step. That's what I'd say. Starting with your zone 0, your home, start to move to your zone 1, just outside your front door, then go further and further. Yeah, using the system of zones.
Back when we began, we did permaculture before the word was invented. But now to do it in the city way, I think what you're suggesting, go from our central place and then neighborhood to neighborhood, little eco villages around the center of the city, and then begin to see how things connect. And Well, thanks a lot. I appreciated finding Finhorn again after all these years. I don't know how it came up on my screen, but I'm glad that you're there, and I'm still around also.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you all. Well, thank you, Lucy, for this session, and thank you all for joining us. I would like to bring in two informs. One is that Gaia Education team is offering a special discount, a special rate for the 3 next people to register to the PDC that we will be running with Lucy and the Finhorn Eco Village. So I put the link on the chat if you are interested. It is on, like, the first 3 people will get a special rate. The other inform is that we are offering an Eco Village Introduction Week in Finhorn right after the PDC. There are people joining both courses to spend 3 weeks in Finhorn, and you are very welcome to join us. For the intro week, we will also have the chance to dive into the 4 dimensions of Eco Village design and learn more and connect with the Finhorn Eco Village. So you are all welcome to join us. And the PDC is starting very soon on August 25th. I also put the link there on the chat. If you need more information, feel free to reach out to us, and maybe Rafa can put our contacts there. And we'll just open the mic again to Lucy and our team from Finhorn, the community members that are around. If you want to share any final inspirations, I feel I would love to hear more, but we heard a little bit what is unique in this PDC in Finhorn. And sorry, I can't open the mic again because we are running out of time too.
Yeah. I just wanted to say, like, it's such an honor to be able to teach this permaculture course in this location and work with, put on the screen some of the people who are co-teaching. There's Evelyn here, for example, and Maria and Craig and Dale and Kaido, Clive and Julie, Jason. So really diverse, like, it's all these people who are experts in the field, have been working in this for years and years. And yeah, it's really inspiring. I get inspired every time on the course. It's just so inspiring to work with and to see things. If you're a person that likes to see and to feel and to really experience, 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional, 5th dimension, if you include your heart and soul, like 5th dimensional experience, then this is really the best place to be doing the permaculture design course. That's what I would say. And you get to do a design project as part of it. And that's, the real life project. So you learn all these skills over 1.5 weeks, and then you do this design project working in small groups. And these are some examples that the students have done their designs, looking at zones. And it just brings together all the learning from the whole course. It's just, a really wonderful way, and then sharing what your designs are with their clients, their real clients. It's really inspiring. There's Maria as well, because I needed Maria beside me, as she will be in August and September outside our compost room.
Thank you. Maybe Adele or Katie, any final words?
Oh, it's a great thing to do. It's a really great, even if you don't, somehow it touches all aspects of your life doing this permaculture design. It's not just gardening. No way. It's about everything. It's about life. It's about how to live on this planet in the best way. It's really great.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. And we hope to see some of you around. in August or September for the intro week. I'm going to put my email here. You have the links if you need to reach out to us. And yeah, that's it. Maybe we can open the mic to hear one or two voices. How are you leaving this session? Whoever is ready to share. How was that to join us in this webinar?
Good day, everyone. My name is Melulegi Shome from Africa, down in the southern part, in a small country called Eswatini. I'm very, very fascinated about what I've learned here. I'm an environmental enthusiast. Currently, I'm practicing an organic farming system called biointensive agriculture. I learned this system from an organization that was founded by a man from Canada. The organization is called Drive for Good. So I'm an enthusiast with something that has to do with our environment, protecting our environment. So this session has helped me a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. All right. So that's us for today. Thank you all. Thank you for joining us. And see you soon in Findhorn.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Great job.
Thanks.
Congrats.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Ciao.
Ciao.